Hello. So today I'll be talking about the Mundell-Flemming model. To be more specific, I'll be discussing the effectiveness of expansionary monetary and fiscal policies in economies operating under flexible and fixed exchange rates. So I'll be starting off with economies operating under fixed exchange rates. Right. So for the model, we always assume that there is perfect capital mobility. This is something that we usually see in more developed economies in the world. So when an expansionary monetary policy is imposed, or the LM curve will shift from LM to LM prime as the monetary policy directly impacts the money market. Therefore, the curve shifts to the right due to an increase in money supply. This will bring about a downward pressure on the interest rate, which then becomes less than the interest rate in the foreign market. Due to this, capital outflow from the country will increase because financial capital tends to chase higher yields and returns. This outflow will bring about a downward pressure on the currency, causing it to depreciate. But since the economy is operating under a fixed exchange rate system, the central bank will decrease domestic money supply artificially, thereby moving the LM curve back to its original position, which in the end will keep the equilibrium point at E naught, leaving the output level Y unchanged. Since the output level does not increase, this policy will be rendered ineffective. Moving on to the expansionary fiscal policy, which carries the same assumption of perfect capital mobility. An increase in government expenditure as part of the fiscal policy will bring about a rightward shift of the IS curve from IS to IS prime. This will bring about an increase in the interest rate, which then becomes higher than that rate being offered in the foreign market. This will result in an inflow of capital, of financial capital, which will then apply an upward pressure on currency, on the domestic currency, causing it to appreciate. Once again, since the government wants to keep the exchange rate pegged, the central bank will increase domestic money supply to keep it fixed. This will bring about a rightward shift of the LM curve from LM to LM prime. This will bring the equilibrium point to E2, which was initially at E naught. The new equilibrium point E2 corresponds to a level of output Y2, which was much greater than the initial output level Y naught. Since there has been an increase in the output level, we can render this policy as effective. Moving on to economies with a flexible exchange rate, we'll start once again with the expansionary monetary policy. The expansionary monetary policy will bring about an increase in money supply, which will cause the LM curve to shift to the right, therefore decreasing the interest rate once again and causing the currency to depreciate due to capital outflow. However, this time, since there is no intervention by the central bank to keep the exchange rate fixed, we will be focusing on the impact on net exports. A depreciation of the currency will cause export prices to decrease and import prices to increase, as a result of which our export revenue will increase and our import expenditures will decrease. This will bring about an increase in our net exports, which then causes the IS curve to shift to the right from IS to IS prime, thereby changing our initial equilibrium from E naught to E2. This brings about an increase in the output level to Y2, therefore rendering this as an effective policy. Moving on to our last case, which concerns the expansionary fiscal policy in the case of a flexible exchange rate. Once again, we start off with an increase in government spending, which brings about a rightward shift in the IS curve. This causes an upward pressure on the interest rate, causing capital inflow, which in turn causes the currency to appreciate. This appreciation will cause export prices to increase and import prices to decrease. The increase in export prices will result in a decrease in export revenue, and the decrease in import prices will cause an increase in our import expenditure. As a result of these two, the net exports will decrease, causing the IS curve to shift back to its original position. Since our equilibrium point remains unchanged at E naught, our output level also remains unchanged at Y naught. Therefore, this policy will be rendered ineffective. So to sum it all up, in the case of a flexible exchange rate, our expansionary fiscal policy is ineffective, whereas in the case of a fixed exchange rate, it is effective. But for an expansionary monetary policy, it is rendered ineffective. It is rendered ineffective in a fixed exchange rate, but effective in a flexible exchange rate. Thank you.